Hello everyone and welcome to the LSI F1 World Championship. We're today for round 1 of season 10. And yes, unfortunately we do have a small grid, but once again, it's enough for a decent race. And wow, what can you see on your screen? Zingy in an AlphaTauri. I know, it's pretty hard to believe. He's decided to opt to go for AlphaTauri alongside Nefojan, so P1 and 2 in the championship, and leave Mercedes for the first time in a long time, which is quite something, but it's a new venture that they would like to go and look for, and maybe we could see, I think, AlphaTauri go for a second constructors. I'm not sure if they've done it before. They might have, but Mercedes now don't have, they have one driver on the grid, but they're not here today, unfortunately. So yeah, obviously gonna state the obvious, and we do have a small grid. We can still have a great race. We know Nifo, Zingy and Castle Sky have had some very good battles in recent races, so I'm optimistic that that's gonna work out. We do have things that we're planning on doing to try and fix this, but at the moment the game's just in a difficult state and everything's spiraling at the moment, so we can't really do too much. But other than that, we're about to watch on board with Dave Raptors, who's getting some practice in for tomorrow's race. He's an EU driver, of course, racing as a reserve driver right now. He is going to be driving Alpine tomorrow, so this is something that we can expect to see in tomorrow's race. And the grid there is going to be much bigger, but they have their teammate that they will be with, which is Robbo. So those guys are being partnered up like they did back in the day, which is going to be great to see in the Alpine. And let's see, maybe Alpine can actually finally challenge up the front. We saw them momentarily in the F1 tier, and we didn't see them in the F1.5 EU tier, and then that was pretty much it. They've Raptors very loosey-goosey on the rear on the exit of turn 2, and they've actually backed off of that lap already. We do have EagerPro on a lap as well. Now this guy doesn't have too much practice, but a very good and talented driver. He might be able to put something in, of course. A bit of a lock-up on the inside, but still seems to be able to make the corner nicely. Just wants to get some sort of improvement lap time. A 26.6 is way off the pace, so they definitely need to go further up. That's Nifojan setting the pace with a 19.2, Castle Sky a 19.9, so a lot of time to find for pretty much everyone. Zingy, of course, once again having a bit of a curse in Monza, not being able to set qualifying lap times, which is, yeah, pretty mad. Yes, we are back. Grzak, great to see you. Thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. Alrighty, EagerPro into Ascari now. Sending it through, bit too hard, unfortunately invalidates. They're going to have to go again or make it to the pit lane. What will they opt to do? I think they might have to go to the pit lane, you know. They might actually have to go into the pit lane. We are going to watch on board with a Casper Sky, who currently a 19.9 is looking for an improvement to look to try and go for pole position. It would be a home pole position as well for the Alfa Romeo team, but also the AlphaTauri team are looking for a home pole position. So we've got two Italian teams wanting that glory. Is it going to work out? I don't quite know. We don't actually have any Ferrari drivers on the grid. So this is the best shot they've got at it. Understeering almost into the wall. That was an interesting bit of car control there. They keep it together, go for a Sky, perfectly fine. They went purple just before. They don't go purple in the middle sector. But now we've got the final sector to go towards turn 11. Just waiting. High-speed corner. It can easily go wrong, but you know, you can send it up very hard into that final corner. And across the line, what's it going to be for Casper Sky? It's not going to be enough to go for any quick lap. It's just going to be a 10th up, so a 19.8. Have they given up on this lap, or are they going to be saving and going again now? I don't know. I don't actually know. Heikler goes across the line. They improve by 2/10. They don't get anything position-wise. They've got another 2/10 if they want to get to Casper Sky. We have Zingy, who needs to try and set their first lap time. They're the only one who hasn't set a lap time yet. 6.5 minutes to go of this session, really attacking that inside curve as hard as they possibly can. DRS available. Let's watch and see as they cross the sector line. Is it going to be purple, or what is it going to be? Regardless, it's not going to be purple. It's going to be a 52.8. The final sector to go now then, as he really attacks turn 9 incredibly aggressively. Turn 10 was pretty nice as well for him. No, that was turn 10. Turn 10. Yeah, turn 10 was pretty nice for him. On the exit of turn 11, tight to the inside line, minimizing the track distance. What's it going to be for Zingy? It's going to be a 19.4, splitting Kasper Sky and Nifojan. So that is very, very nice indeed for him. And a good, nice, relaxing position for Nifo as he's about to start his final run very, very shortly. He's got nothing really to worry about too much. He's got, is that like pretty much 2/10 to the car behind. So he only needs to find a little bit more and he'll be good to go. Was that Heisler giving his teammate slipstream? I'm not quite sure. They might have tried to give it a shot. Regardless, that is Sidewinder looking for an improvement lap as they will come around the final corner. What's it going to be for the Red Bull team that now have 2 drivers in the mix and can score some serious points in their constructors? No, it's into the pit lane for both of them, and they will try and go for one final run in a little bit. 5 minutes left of this session. We've got EagerPro on an out lap, Zingy on an in lap, of course, after just setting their lap time. So we'll watch on board with EagerPro for a while as he is the only car on track. Now, the championship, Zingy's looking strong again, of course. Nifo, though, as they're now in the same team, they'll have to work together, and he might be able to take advantage of that and maybe get even closer to Zingy than he was last season. We'll have to wait and see. Don't quite know. Kasper Sky now used to their brand new wheel that they've got. Can they possibly challenge as well? We saw them in the later stages of last season doing very, very well. So they still need to try and push a little bit more, and they might be able to look for their first ever victory in LSI. That would be great to see. I think they... No, they didn't win in the summer season, but they won the title. So they didn't win any races, but they did win the title. So they are currently your most recent LSI champion holder, or title holder. But no race victories directly. Everyone in the pit lane right now, no one's out just yet. They're waiting for that timer to run out. That is EagerPro, of course, and his pit crew. Making sure they get that car in as soon as possible so they can go out again. And we can expect to see the drivers leave the garage on about the 3 to 2.5 minute mark. Of course, 1 minute 20 second lap time. You are going to have to leave enough time to go out and do an out lap, and maybe if you want to be even safer, do 2 laps. It is something that people might possibly want to do. But at a really high-speed circuit like this, you do want to try and keep the car as light as possible with no compromises. So these guys are going to be waiting for the final moments to keep that track nice and grippy for their final run. And that is going to be Kasper Sky going for the first dash. He's going to have a nice amount of clean air for his qualifying run, so that's brilliant for him. Everybody else, they might have a little bit more traffic. Nothing too much to worry about. EagerPro immediately out again. Then we have the Red Bull also out right behind. Kasper Sky still a long way up, and they might be able to slow down a little bit later on, but obviously if they do have a car behind them, they can't dawdle too much. Now, that is Sidewinder on an outlap now. Both of course, Heisler, and that is Dave Raptors also on outlap. So the only driver in the pit lane right now is Nifojan and Zingy, who've decided not to go out of the pit lane just yet, which I find very interesting. Now, that is one of the AlphaTauris on their way. two of the AlphaTauris on their way, so they are going for a final run, but they're leaving it incredibly late. We are going to watch on board with this guy, who needs a little bit more time to try and prove himself. He actually needs about 6/10 to try and challenge for pole position. That's whether the cars behind improve or not, but he needs 6/10. He's got a lot of time to gain if he wants to challenge for that pole position, and here is their final opportunity at doing so. They won't get another one, keeping the car as far left as they possibly can, opening it up. DRS available in a very weird place, of course, just after the finish line there. Into turn one, heavy braking. Don't hit the grass on the outside, otherwise you will miss it. Staying off the curbs, you don't want it to jump you off either, and they also stay off the exit curb because otherwise you'll lose a lot of traction, so they're keeping it nice and tidy so far. Brilliant stuff into the second chicane. Now, this is very, very tricky, especially on the traction. You've got to wait, on the throttle. There you go. Lovely, 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 lovely stuff. Into the first Lesmos. Through this one, keeping up the minimum speed on the exit as wide as you possibly can. Into the second one, once again, as wide as you possibly can, opening up the steering, getting on the throttle, and then DRS available, and you've got a long, long, long way down to Ascari. Psyching yourself up, this is one of the most difficult corners. A little bit blind, turn in when you think that it is right, and they do it. Lovely stuff from them. And into the final corner now. One final moment of waiting into turn 11, and that will be the lap done. It's the moment of truth. Very, very smooth on the turn-in, on the exit. They have a bit of a moment on the throttle, but once again, across the line, for Casper Sky, it's not going to be enough. It's so close to Zingy's lap time. Who's going to be improving next? That is EagerPro, unfortunately making a mistake. That's going to be Sidewinder going for a final run as EagerPro tries to move out the way. Sidewinder cheekily taking every bit of tow that they possibly can, but it's not going to be enough because they've invalidated Heischler, though. They will be able to set one final lap time. Are they going to be able to improve up to the top three? Is it going to be possible? I don't know, and it's not, unfortunately. It will not be possible. Dave Raptors crosses the line, and they go ahead of EagerPro. I think they're already ahead of EagerPro. The final few runners then of qualifying is these two, Zingy versus Nifo Jan. Zingy into the pit lane. Nifo doesn't need to worry. They've got an invalidated lap time anyway. It is what it is. That is qualifying over. Nifo takes pole position. Casper Sky in P2. Now they've got a bit of a situation in their hands there. They're in a sandwich. They're in a big old sandwich, which is going to be pretty interesting. They do have, of course, the front row. Outside or inside, I can't quite remember. Regardless, it's going to be a bit of a daunting task to have both teammates that are going to be communicating with one another in front and behind you. Nifajan takes pole position, Casper Sky in P2, and then Zingy in P3. This is the qualifying order to start the season off. We'll skim through the race director just in case, and then we will be back for the race. We'll see you in a bit. Ready? Hold. Go! Who's going to get it into turn one? Nifo gets away well. Castle Sky looking for a possible second phase run. No, they lose the rear. That allows the teammate to come through Ziggy on the inside. And it's immediately an Alpha Tauri 1-2. Almost contact between the two. That's Castle Sky down the order. I do not believe it. But that is absolutely incredible. Ziggy into the lead. And that's Heischler in P3. They've got their teammate right behind with the Alpine, who's into P5. We got Egapro wanting to have a look at a move. Is he going to go for the inside? He will go for the inside on the Alpha Tauri. The Alpine goes off the circuit. And that is unfortunately them down the order. Casper Sky trying to recover after their issues. They just had a bit of a minor spin. No damage for now. But that was a crucial moment. And they're all the way in P7 from P2, pretty much off the line. Nifo slots in behind his teammate as they went side by side into turn one. I'm surprised at that. I thought Zingy would probably let him go into turn one, but no, he decides he wants to go for that leading position. They're in a bit of a train. Sidewinder in P3, and they have the lead over Heischler, who I think's made a mistake, because, yeah, that's an interesting one. Casper Sky already looking at a move on the back of the Alpine. They can't quite find a way through. They're going to go for a second look, but they get stuck on the exit curb. They're bottoming out, interestingly, so really low on the ride height potentially. We don't quite know. Dave Raptors having a cheeky look. Nothing too much to really look into so far. We got the Red Bull, of course, of Heischler sitting in P5. I think they must have made a mistake. I could have sworn they were in P3. That's allowed Sidewinder to get through. Egapro in turn as well, who now leads a bit of a train. Egapro not quite close enough to be in DRS of Sidewinder. They are almost there, but just not quite close enough. They need a little bit more time and they will be able to get there. They're only losing at this point. Sidewinder also not close enough to get DRS of the top two. So the top two currently commanding this race, and if they can use their communication to their advantage and fight a little bit later on into this race, that will help them absolutely massively, especially with the grid size and the probability of a safety car being very, very low. And that is unfortunately in the background Dave Raptors making a mistake that allows Casper Sky to get through, but bit of a blessing in disguise, not a blessing in disguise. Casper Sky now is not within DRS range. DRS isn't available this time around anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much. There's a busted lap there for Sidewinder, so lovely stuff for him. But it's still, he's got 8/10 to try and catch. We've got Heischler, who might want to have a look at a move. They are going to try and squeeze around the outside. Egapro's ahead, and they will take the racing line. Fair enough to them. They defend very, very nicely indeed. Egapro going to try his best to catch up the Sidewinder, but 2.7 seconds is the gap, and it's not exactly changing. Sidewinder is catching the guys ahead. He wants to get that DRS, and in a minute, he might actually have a look at getting the DRS. That's Zingy making a mistake on the exit, and that's also Nifojan paying the price for that, as he can't get past his teammate just yet. Nifo's going to want to get through sooner rather than later, but Sidewinder has now caught up and they're within DRS range, so they're going to be in attacking position here. This is brilliant. Brilliant news for Sidewinder. Egapro in P4, a 3.4 second gap now. Heischler is going to be right there, but he's actually made a mistake himself and lost quite a bit of a gap. That is a yellow, unfortunately, and Zingy has had more issues. More issues. They don't have damage, but they go off the circuit. That's going to allow Sidewinder to take the lead in the Grand Prix. Go around the outside of Nifo to try and hold it again, but no. Sidewinder leads the Italian Grand Prix. Here goes Nifo once again. Round the outside, the DRS is his, and he will take it back. Zingy crucially losing all of that down the order. That's Egapro getting the DRS. Getting the DRS off of Zingy. Casper Sky makes the move on Heischler. Heischler, of course, having those issues. They miss out on the DRS from Egapro and are a sitting duck. Casper Sky, all of a sudden, is back in this race. Absolutely incredible. Egapro gets a little bit of a break at the moment, of course, as they get that DRS, but Zingy having some really, really big issues. They've gone off the circuit and lost not only the lead to Nifojan, but the also a position to Sidewinder, who is now threatening their teammate and putting their current 1-2 hopes in a bit of jeopardy. So Sidewinder loving life at the moment. They've got to make sure that they keep composed and learn from the mistake, of course, in Great Britain that they made while they're fighting for a podium, which didn't go quite the way they wanted in the end. They've got DRS, they have the upper hand at this stage. It's lap 4 of 27 with a long way to go until the end of this race. So Sidewinder just needs to relax here, although Zingy is catching not too shabbily, not too slowly at the moment. He's catching quite nicely. Nifo goes for a fastest lap to try and help his teammate by trying to keep Sidewinder out of the DRS, but Sidewinder, of course, having the DRS, it allows him to catch up. He really rides that curve incredibly aggressively. Lost more time on the exit, but crucially, Nipojan was sideways on the exit, and that allows Sidewinder to have a bit of a get-out-of-jail-free card almost, because that was almost the end of that DRS availability that he had. So absolutely incredible there for Sidewinder to be able to hold on to this DRS. Zingy trying his best to catch up, but pretty much stuck. EagerPro also can't catch up. It's even the gaps between Zingy and Sidewinder and EagerPro. And Zingy, he can't find anything. He can't find anything at the moment. He just doesn't know where to look for that extra time. Castle Sky is going to want to try and get through sooner rather than later. He has DRS available this lap, so he might want to go for a move, depending on how quick he is in a straight line, of course. He might have a look at a move for the lead. Sidewinder, however, he's going to be pretty close. 5 tenths as he actually loses 2 tenths to Nepojan. DRS available. Is he going to push for a move? No, definitely not at this stage. We're going to go back with Castle Sky, who is going to try and catch as much as they possibly can. Of course, stay collected and not ruin their race before it's even begun. We are only on lap 6 out of 27. You could say we are already on lap 26 out of 27. It's not gone too slowly, has it? Castle Sky now 5 tenths behind instead of 9 tenths behind. So loving this is Castle Sky. He catches up nicely. He's got Heichler right behind. So as soon as Casper Sky makes a move on EagerPro, supposing that he does make a move, Heichler is going to be right there. He needs to make sure that instead of trying to push as much as he possibly can, he just needs to make sure that he's in a good position to try and take advantage of the overtake ahead, pick up the scraps potentially. That would be brilliant for him. Awesome, PJ. I hope you get well soon. I've just recovered from COVID myself, so luckily for me, the timing's been quite nice, and I'm able to commentate today. Casper Sky now looking for their first real overtaking opportunity. The gap between Sidewinder and Nifo is 6 tenths. Zingy isn't closing. Did he actually make contact with the wall on the exit of turn 10? I don't quite know. Never mind. The overtake is looking promising as Casper Sky catches. There's a little bit of lag, but nothing to really worry about. He's already side by side, already into the braking zone. EagerPro wants to try and come back, but immediately realizes he needs to back out, and he's lost it on the rear. Pirouettes round. That is the Aston Martin into P6, and that is the DRS train gone. What a shame. What a shame. They were slotting him behind. It was looking brilliant, but unfortunately, it's not the way it was intended, I guess. Fate just didn't want that to happen. EagerPro is going to have to try and figure some things out, maybe go for a bit of an undercut. We'll have to wait and see. Heichler now in his own strong DRS train. It's not a train, it's just DRS for him at the moment. So that's brilliant news because he doesn't have anybody else to challenge him behind or ahead of Casper Sky, making it difficult for him to stay with the Alfa Romeo. So at the moment, these two can just focus on catching up to the car ahead potentially, and that would be brilliant news for them. Sidewinder, however, he's caught up nicely to Nifo, and he might be able to threaten Nifo. Would he want to go for a move? Because Nifo is ahead for now, and yeah, the gap isn't as big as it was before, but if Nifo does manage to make it another 6 tenths gap, maybe even more, then Sidewinder could find himself in a bit of trouble. At the moment, he just wants to keep collected, and actually, even though Nifo leads this race and has control, he's not backing him up into Zingy, and that does mean that Zingy is losing time as Sidewinder just lets Nifo take the lead of this race. So I take that back. Currently, Sidewinder is doing everything that he needs to do, apart from losing the rear of the car, of course. Nifo, I think, if I'm correct, had a red flashing light on the back of his car. He might recognise an opportunity to really push here and try and escape, but immediately counteracted by the DRS of Sidewinder, who'll get that, all the tenths back that he needs, of course. But I think he was trying to save up for a bit of an attack, and now, unfortunately, that attack's going to have to be momentarily delayed, of course. So Sidewinder will not be in a position to make an overtake. Now, I don't quite know if Nifo did have a flashing light on the back of their car, or if I'm just seeing things. We'll have to check in on that very, very soon. But currently, Nifo leads the way, this time by 7 tenths. So what I did say, I'm slightly worried about it. He's not exactly catching up. So Nifo has got some straight line speed in that car until it gets to the very top end momentum, and that is where Sidewinder catches up when that rear wing is nice and open. As you can see, he's gone from 7 to 5 tenths on the exit of turn 2. That just shows you the power of the aerodynamics in Formula 1 cars. Zingy is... Oh, no! No, no, no! Nifo is out! I do not believe it! They lost the rear of the car, it looks like, or maybe even just lost complete control of the car. I don't know. I think they must have gone over the curb, lost the car, and that is now Sidewinder into the lead, and no, safety car is deployed crucially. That is absolutely incredible. Sidewinder finds himself in the lead of the Grand Prix. Oh my god. That is absolutely incredible. No, he doesn't have DRS, but he has a 3.2 second gap between himself and the car behind. Kaspersky is slowly catching up to Zingy as well. So Zingy's got pressure from the cars behind. Sidewinder leads the way on the medium tyre, I should say. So he has got a bit of a strategy call to make here. But that is a nice gap, and it's a very good opportunity. Zingy will only get faster and faster, but Sidewinder's got to hope that Kaspersky catches up. Kaspersky goes slightly defensive to make sure that Heisler doesn't think of anything too cheeky. He doesn't want him to disturb him from catching up, but he's not going to be able to disturb him anyway. He loses the car on the rear of turn 2. I do not believe it. That is such a shame. And all of a sudden, the battles that we have had are almost... all of a sudden gone. I don't believe it. It was a wheel disconnect. It was a wheel disconnect from Nifojan. It wasn't a loss of the rear on the curbs. And that is not ideal. Not ideal for the AlphaTauri team. But Sidewinder is also... No, that's Heisler, sorry. Heisler into the wall. I forgot who I was watching there. Heisler into the wall as well. They've lost their front wing. They're going to have to take it to the pit lane. They lost to the car, of course, in turn 2. And those tyres are just very, very heated up. And they've just had a bit of a domino effect at the moment. So they've got to be careful. Try and get back into this in a little bit. Kaspersky has also made a mistake because Zingy now is escaping. But at the same time, Zingy is catching quite nicely on Sidewinder. By the time Zingy has caught Sidewinder, I believe that he will probably have already made a pit stop. But still, medium tyre against hard tyre, Zingy is going to have a significant advantage later on into this race. And so will Kaspersky. So if Kaspersky is, as we've seen so far, faster than Zingy, he can still be in for a good position at possibly winning this race. Zingy, though... he all of a sudden was catching, now he's lost time, and Kaspersky isn't exactly gaining time, so Sidewinder, I don't know, it's a bit of a roller coaster at the moment. All of a sudden Sidewinder's now in a brilliant position, then he's not, then Zingy is, and now Zingy's not, and Kaspersky was the quickest, and now he's losing time. So I don't know actually what's going to happen here. It's very, very confusing. Pit stops for Sidewinder, I'm going to say around about lap 14, maybe? Dave Raptors unfortunately makes a mistake. That's them round. They will not lose any positions, though. They will lose possible attacking range of Heischler, however. So, pit stop wise, of course, if we hit lap 17, you're 10 laps on the medium tyre. Currently, Sidewinder's done 12 laps. So, if that's the case, if we pitted for 12 lap old medium tyres, the other guys are going to be pitting on about lap 15. Sidewinder, is he really going to try and go for an overcut here? I don't think that's the right call. I think he needs to take full advantage of an undercut, maybe even go further onto an undercut. Of course, the power of the straight line speed is absolutely crucial around the circuit, and at this stage, with the gap he has, he is going to be able to take advantage of that. That's if he thinks that these medium tyres are done. If they've got a bit more pace in them, then he's going to want to stay out. And of course, if Zingy keeps making mistakes, he's going to want to stay out as well. Unless Sidewinder just found some mojo, I don't know. I say that as he makes a pretty big mistake, just about avoids track limits, but does lose 3/10 to Zingy behind. This might be his opportunity to make a pit stop, and Zingy is going to have a bit of, well, not exactly like they didn't have it before, clean air, and they will take the lead of this race. Is that going to be the case? No. Sidewinder decides they want to start a little bit longer. So, are we going to be going to lap 14, 15, 16? I don't think we would be going to lap 15. I think lap 14 is at most, but lap 13 is probably more than enough, of course, because the Sidewinder's got to try and do something here. They're on a disadvantaged strategy. They do need to try and make an undercut work, and the other guys are going to be pitting within the next few laps, I would say, probably lap 15. Maybe 16, maybe even further, but I don't think that would be really the case. I don't think that's going to happen. I should go for a fastest lap as they fitted a fresh set of medium tyres on. They've got a long way to go on that medium tyre. Not going to be impossible to get to the end, of course, so we can still see them later on in this race maybe, as everybody else will have to make their pit stops. Time will tell though. Sidewinder has to make a move surely into the pit lane, I'm saying. They need to make some sort of call, otherwise their advantage will not be an advantage anymore. And it will just be pretty much damage limitation from there on. And he does take it into the pit lane. Zingy will lead the Grand Prix once again in this Italian GP. He will be the car in front. Sidewinder onto that hard tyre, of course. Now they've got about a lap or two to do an undercut. I don't know if they should have done it a little bit earlier, or if maybe a lap or two was enough. Guess, yeah, you just started lap 14. Yeah, okay, fair enough, that might be enough. The other guys are probably going to want to try and extend a little bit, but not too much, of course. Now, Sidewinder's got to really work on warming up these tyres, getting them up to temperature, and then he will be able to get a bit of a groove on, and he's going to be out right off the bat quick. But Zingy, Capital Sky, it won't take them long to warm up their tyres, of course, so they won't have too much work to do. And then they're going to be even quicker, and with the situation that they're in, they don't need to risk anything, so their tyres are going to be good to go to the end. They can even extend if they want to. Zingy, however, is pretty much dead on the ERS. They've got a red flashing light on the back of that car, so the chances potentially are they might be deciding to go into the pit lane now as they push on an in-lap. Are they really going to do the reaction maneuver? It's what I expected, because now Sidewinder has no chance of a undercut. And yes, Zingy may have pitted a little bit early, but he will be in a comfortable position. Okay, that explains a lot. He did have damage. I don't know where he had it. I think it might have been on the exit of turn 10. or maybe actually even turn 8, of course, just before Ascari. They might have hit the wall on the right-hand side. So they've got a bit of a front wing repair. That's going to be a nice advantage that Sidewinder will have over Zingy, and it also brings an opportunity for Castle Sky to jump Zingy in the pit lane. Will he do it? Yes, probably, but I don't know. Would Zingy warm up his tyres and get enough of an undercut? Monza would suggest probably not, because the hard tyres, they don't lose as much time as they would around the circuit that has more corners, but I don't know. Castle Sky leads the way for the first time this Grand Prix. Will they want to immediately react to Zingy, or are they going to try and stay out a little bit longer? I don't know. I really, really don't know at this stage. They went into the pit lane now, they would cover off Zingy and they would be able to jump ahead and try and catch up the Sidewinder, but I don't think they realise that Zingy has had a front wing change. I'm not sure if they realise that, so I think what they're going to do is stay out for longer and longer and longer to try and do the overcut, but not realising that Zingy's just going to get an extreme undercut. We'll have to wait and see. It was about 2.7 seconds the gap between Zingy and Sidewinder. That's now 6.5 seconds. So about 3 point... Wow. Completely... Yeah, I cannot calculate that, unfortunately. Take away 2, 4.4. Another 4. Why can't I think? Okay. 3.7 seconds, was it? 3.7 seconds to... No, it wasn't. I don't know. It's just under 4 seconds to get a front wing change. Around about 3 seconds, let's say. 3.5 seconds to get a front wing change. So Zingy has had to suffer that consequence. And they've got a lot to gain on Sidewinder. Tyre-wise, they should be able to do it, but as it's Monza, like I said, the hard tyres are going to lose a minimal amount of time. So really into the first, second, most, and also Ascari, they will gain a lot of time. As you do see, they've gained about a 10th to Sidewinder. That will also allow them to gain a lot of time on corners like turn 1, 2, where they will have so much traction. So we'll wait and see how that goes. Castle Sky does go into the pit lane. They leave the pit lane. They're going to slot in between, or is Zingy going to be able to jump ahead? I do not know. I think he might have it. His tyres are going to be nice and warm. He slots into the toe. He goes to the outside line. Casper Sky moves. Oh, no, no, no. Zingy really tried to go for it. He really wanted it. It didn't work out. Casper Sky goes off the circuit as he tries to give the position back. Zingy, no. Zingy's now got damage from that collision, and he's going to either have to go to the pit lane or stay out for as long as he possibly can. He will lose the position to Castle Sky and potentially Heisler. He'll definitely lose it if he makes a pit stop. So Zingy, at the moment, he might have to just forget about the win and try and secure a podium here. That's absolutely devastating. Absolutely devastating. The gap that Castle Sky had, he thought he could go for the racing line. Zingy thought that he could really send it on the brakes. That's going to have to be sent to the steward's room afterwards, I'm sure. It's going to be something that we will look into later on. Don't quite know what will happen. I'm not going to comment on the incident, but that is absolutely crucial. And that is now a 7.6 second gap between Sidewinder and Zingy. How about this? Sidewinder is looking for their first win in LSI F1 history. They've won many times in the NA tier. They got many, many podiums as well, actually, in the F1 tier as well. But this is going to be their first win, potentially. 18 out of 27. I'm going to go back to these guys because I do not want to jinx it. 7.7 seconds is the gap. Now Zingy has damage as well. Sidewinder at the moment, all he needs to do is cruise. He doesn't need to risk anything. Castle Sky is catching up to Zingy. These guys are going to have a bit of heat between them now as they're maybe not exactly happy with one another. So you never know what's going to happen here. Heisler's actually lost a position to Eagerpro's. Eagerpro makes that back. I think Kaiser's on slightly fresher medium tyres potentially. Not quite sure, but these guys are going to be in their own little battle. Eagerpro's made that move recently though. Heisler will find a way past soon. That's Kaspersky catching up nicely, of course. They don't have damage. Zingy does have damage. They're just trying to find a calculated way of getting past that AlphaTauri and trying their best to challenge for a win later on. But the longer they spend behind, the harder it is going to be for them to catch up. Now, DRS will be available. They'll have ERS and Slipstream as well to make the move. Zingy will not have the downforce to challenge into turn 1, so it's not exactly going to be possible for him to challenge. Zingy is going to try and have a look on the inside as they do bleed off the brakes. That is Kaspersky giving him space, and Zingy will take it back. I'm very surprised at that. Kaspersky left him the space as he realised he had damage. He didn't want him to understeer into him, but he did have the corner, so he didn't actually need to do that. Zingy's taken full advantage. He said, okay, if you're going to do that, that's fine. Kaspersky misjudges Zingy's braking point, and that might be damage to Kaspersky there. As, of course, Zingy does have that damage on their car, and they have to take a slightly different braking point. Kaspersky didn't quite read that correctly. Yeah, that is an interesting situation. These guys have split up a little bit, unfortunately. Eagerpro has just run away from this battle. Heisler no longer in DRS and no longer in attacking position to try and fight for a P4. So these guys are unfortunately not going to be having any feisty battles. It is what it is. We're going to look at the time penalties really quickly. Eagerpro, Heisler and Dave Raptors all with 3 seconds. The top 3 have no time penalties so far. The tyre situation is as follows, of course. Eagerpro, is he going to be able to catch up to the cars ahead? He's got a fair few laps to do so. Of course, Zingy has damage. Kaspersky might have damage. Less than Zingy regardless if they do. But yeah, it's not exactly easy to get past, it seems, especially around this circuit. So Eagerpro, now in clean air, might have a great opportunity to catch up and look at a potential podium, depending on how his time penalty affects him when they cross the line, of course. Kaspersky has significantly better tyres than Zingy, and I guess you could say Eagerpro as well, of course. Zingy and Eagerpro are on equal tyres. Heisler on 9-lap-old tyres, so it should have been and was a pretty straightforward move for Eagerpro to carry out earlier on. Kaspersky once again can't find a way through, having to change their braking point, and they go very, very wide, which stops them from really making an opportunity out of getting past. 7/10 they find themselves behind again, and they just can't get through. At the moment, Zingy's just trying his best to hold on. Kaspersky needs to try and have a bit more of a calculated attack here. DRS available, ERS is being used, and he is going to try and go for a move. Which way will he go to make this move? He goes to the outside line. Zingy on the inside as he tries to outbrake once again. He does do it, makes the corner, and Kaspersky misjudges the exit that Zingy has. Makes contact, loses his own run, so only actually affects himself there. Zingy wasn't actually affected by that little bit of contact. Kaspersky just loses the run, can't find a way through. Having to brake a little bit earlier, he needs to try and size up a move. Notice that Zingy's braking points are going to be different, and then get it on the exit. At the moment, he's not able to find that opportunity. DRS available. Is he going to try and go for a bit of a more different overtake? Is he going to go to the outside here? He will go to the outside of Ascari. Zingy is not going to be able to challenge with no front wing. He's going to have to let it go, and that is a very, very clever way of Kaspersky getting through. He knew Zingy wouldn't be able to challenge back. He gets through now to turn 11, but there's a good old DRS straight down here, of course, that will allow Zingy to catch back up, and with no front wing, I think, if I'm correct, it gives you a bit more straight line speed. potentially. DRS available, ERS pretty much 0 for both drivers. Zingy will challenge once again. He's going to go to the inside line as Kaspersky goes defensive. Kaspersky going to sit on the outside. Is he going to try and go around? He will, but Zingy really wanted to squeeze him there. Kaspersky has to take avoiding action, and he can't quite get through. These guys racing very hard. Zingy is not able to catch up, and I don't think they're expecting to catch up to Sidewinder. They're just preventing Kaspersky from doing so instead. So Kaspersky is going to be incredibly frustrated with this situation that he's in. EagerPro is going to be loving this as he's catching up as well, and Sidewinder is going to be loving this because they're just escaping and they are in less of a position to have to push for a potential win here. ERS available once again, but ERS is pretty much 0 for Kaspersky, and he isn't able to challenge just yet. Interestingly, Zingy, he does not have a flashing light. He is on a pretty low ERS situation, I guess you could say, but he doesn't have a flashing light on the back of that car. Setting himself up nicely as Kaspersky, just making sure that he gets a decent enough exit to be nice and close. DRS available. Is he going to be able to push for the run? Flashing light, there is Zingy as he's going in a straight line. No braking. You just slowly run that battery out. Zingy now is not going to have such an advantage, and he's really going to send it. Misses the corner. Squeezes, makes contact. That is a risky maneuver there from Zingy. Risking a lot by doing that kind of stuff. He's got to be so careful. Kaspersky is going to have a look at a move into turn 4. Is it going to be possible? He will dive to the outside line, and that's Zingy trying to take the racing line. He tried to leave a little bit of space, but it wasn't possible. Kaspersky is there, and that is Kaspersky going to go through and take that position. The battle is done. DRS will be available for Zingy. He will be able to catch up a little bit. But now there's such a significant gap between these guys, it's probably going to be impossible for Zingy to be able to catch back up. That was a battle that was bubbling up, and it eventually resulted in what we just saw. And Kaspersky does eventually get through. It is what it is. It is what it is so far. Regardless of the situation, EagerPro has caught up a massive amount, and Sidewinder is going to be in a dream. Zingy does get the DRS. It will allow them to catch up a little bit more, but I think that is going to be the battle over. They will be introduced into a new battle shortly if EagerPro is going to be fast enough to catch up. Time penalty wise, it might not be so straightforward, however. We'll have to wait and see how it turns out, of course. Lost Nifajan on lap 8 of this race due to a technical issue on their side, unfortunately. It's the only DNF from this race, and that's their first DNF in a while, their first DNF of the season, the first race of the season. 0 points for them. That is absolutely crucial, and not what they want to see. 2.3 seconds is the gap that splits EagerPro and Zingy at the moment. He's got that damage, and he's not got DRS on the car ahead. So EagerPro does have a brilliant opportunity to catch it, and maybe if the time penalties go his way, he might be able to get ahead. We'll have to wait and see. It's always worth a shot. 10 seconds is the gap that Sidewinder has to Kaspersky. Lap 25 out of 27. We haven't got long to go, and we will crown a brand new winner in LSI. First time winner in the F1 tier. It's been a small grid, but it's been a very entertaining race. I will say that for sure. Very, very entertaining. EagerPro catches a little bit more, about a 2/10. He loses a bit on the exit, however. Dave Raptors causes a yellow flag. EagerPro, he caught up massively and then lost a load of time on the exit. He just needs a little bit more. Get that DRS for the final lap and we can have a bit of a shindig. But is it going to be possible? He's got a bit more to try and catch up to the back of that AlphaTauri, and then he might have an opportunity. You never know. There might be more time penalties involved later on into this race. I don't quite know. Post-race, it could change. EagerPro has every chance of getting a move here. Point 4 is now the gap. He gains massively into the second sector. He gains massively into Ascari. He's not going to get the DRS this lap, but he will potentially and very likely get DRS on the next lap. That is going to be something to watch very, very shortly. Sidewinder has started the penultimate lap of this race. He's loving life at the moment. Kaspersky, he's in clean air, finally, but he hasn't got long of this race to go, and it's going to be incredibly tough for him to be able to try and challenge for a potential victory. It's virtually impossible. Never say never, but virtually impossible. He was on that more beneficial tyre when he had about a 7 second gap maybe between the car ahead, but of course Battles made that 10, and unfortunately it's not allowed him to catch up. And of course EagerPro now has benefited from that battle as well, as he's almost in DRS range, just needs a little bit more. He's got to get it here. He's got to get it here if he wants to set up a move on the final lap. He does get the DRS here. Yes, he does. He does get the DRS, and he's going to have to try and think, okay, where am I going to go for this overtake? Because I've got 1 lap to do it. 1 lap to get that move done. You've got Heisler and Dave Raptors into the pit lane to go for fastest lap at the end of this race, as that is what they want to try and have a crack at, of course. Sidewinder starts the final lap of this race, and we will check on board with him very, very soon. But we're also going to look at this battle right here as EagerPro catches up to Zingy. Both equal on tyres here. This is going to be very, very interesting indeed. Flashing light for both drivers. Pretty much nothing in between, as he's going to go to the outside line. Zingy to the inside. He's going to have to leave the space to the Aston. The Aston's there. Brilliant, brilliant attacking there for EagerPro, but he's not able to get the move done right now. He's got one more opportunity to get it done. Is he going to be able to execute it? I do not know. That will be towards Ascari. If he can just get alongside Zingy and Ascari, he will have the advantage, because Zingy's got no downforce on that front end. He just needs to try and get there, and he will be able to take a podium position. Maybe not on time penalties. We'll have to wait and see. DRS available. Is it going to be enough for him to catch up? He's going to try his absolute best. He's catching. He's catching. He's catching. He's going to go to the outside line. Zingy doesn't leave anything left. He's trying to keep his car as wide as possible. EagerPro has got one final opportunity. He's going to try and go the long way around Ascari. I think not Ascari. Parabolica. Parabolica. It's going to work. No, it's not going to work. I don't know. Sidewinder wins the Italian Grand Prix. Kaspersky P2. That's going to be Zingy taking the P3 in the end, and EagerPro will get that P4. Incredible stuff. Heisler looking for a fastest lap at Dave Raptors, but all eyes on this guy. What a deserving winner. What an incredible drive. Just got on with it. Thought about himself and drove to perfection. What a way to start the season. He's leading the championship. Sidewinder 303. Amazing. Red Bull on top as well. That is phenomenal stuff. Phenomenal stuff. Very, very well done. Sidewinder deserves that massively. Struggling so much with the F1 22 game last season, of course. It just didn't work for him. The little practice he's had, he's got the talent in him. And, of course, there has been some issues, of course, in this race, but ultimately he's been the one to take advantage of them. Sidewinder wins the Italian Grand Prix. Kaspersky in P2, then we've got Zingy in P3, EagerPro in P4, Heisler in P5, and with the fastest lap, Dave Raptors takes P6, and DNFing earlier on was Nifo Jan. Race director, just in case we need to check it out later on. And, of course, the pit stops as well, just in case. We'll be back for the post-race interviews. We'll see you in a bit. Hello everyone and welcome to the LSI F1 World Championship. We're today for the post-race interviews of the Italian Grand Prix. What a race. What a race that was. We had a lot of action despite not too many drivers. Good or bad action, whatever way you want to look at it, we still had some very exciting racing. We start with this guy, Casper Sky. You had some very, very close racing this time around. Did you enjoy it? Was it nice to be involved with? Or, I don't know, you had action straight out of the bat on to turn 2. I'll let you explain that.
Yeah. I mean, I got tapped in the rear at turn 1. Unfortunately, I spun, but no damage. I was okay with that. Still thought to myself, okay, I can fight for a good position there. And it actually went pretty good until I pitted and turn 1 accident happened with Zingy, which I'm very sorry about. Yeah, actually very good defending by Zingy. I should learn from him.
Fair enough. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to comment on that incident. It was a great battle for sure. So thank you very much for giving us that one. It was very entertaining. The next circuit, which I've actually forgotten, regardless if you can make it or not, the circuit is Austria. Do you like that circuit?
Austria.
Again, we're going to Austria.
I mean, yeah, I think I have a pretty good pace around that track. It's short, so it should, I think, bring us some action, close-up fighting, and everything else. But yeah, I think I can fight for a good result there too.
Awesome. I can't wait for that one. Really well done. One last question. How would you describe your race in 3 words?
One of the hardest questions, though.
It is one of the hardest questions. If you don't want to answer it, just say a few words. You can just say a few words.
I mean, I think I should come up with these words just before the race starts. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if I could come up with something right now, it would be eventful, and fast. Awesome. Pretty enjoyable. Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's fine. We'll have as many words as we want. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time. Well done today.
Yeah, you see ya.
And we move on to Heisler. Ups and downs. You had some battles, and then it didn't quite go the way you wanted. You ended the race with a fastest lap, so you're at least happy with that?
Yeah, overall I'm quite happy with the race because, yeah, it's kind of fucked. The race was kind of over because the game is just not great. I got wheel spin in 5th gear, which shouldn't happen, but okay. Yeah. I had some fun battles with Igor, but then lost his DRS. Yeah, it was inevitable. He was just on better tires. Yeah.
It's a shame, but you are leading the constructors with Red Bull. I guess that's a plus.
Yeah, that's really a plus.
Austria is the home Grand Prix of the Red Bull team. Do you think you can do well there, especially as we've just had a recent race there?
Yeah, last race I found out that I'm, compared to most other tracks, quite fast. So, yeah, I think I can do well there.
Yeah, I hope it goes well. It's a shame that what happened today, but you definitely have good pace. So hopefully you can showcase that in the next one. One last question. How would you describe your race in 3 words?
It's a beginning.
Thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Well done today. And we move on to Nifo. So, hardware issues. That's not what you want to see. First of all, pole position. Brilliant way to start the season, so well done there. I don't really know what to say. Didn't really get too far into the race, and you've had hardware issues. It's one of those things, unfortunately. But from what you did do in the race. Can you take us through it?
I mean, from quali on, I mean, it was the first lap was really good, and then I just couldn't improve on it. Just bottled. The second lap was just bad, and the third one I just bottled it. I was lucky that I think Ziggy bottled it as well. Otherwise, he would have probably had pole. So I don't think I got pole on that right pace there, but it was alright. Then first corner, of course, it's Ziggy with the start, so it got past him anyway. So I was just following from there on, and then he made a big mistake coming into Ascari. I'm out of Ascari actually, and then he lost it so much that I had to go off the track to avoid him. But I was still in front, and Sidewinder got in front of me, and I just downshifted to get DRS on the straight. Didn't brake, just downshifted, so I got less top speed, and then just overtook him on the straight. And then from there out, I was just controlling the pace. There was nothing to do really, so I was just ahead for really long, and then I was gaining on him, making a few mistakes, but he was on the medium, so I was on my way to win. I would say I was confident I was gonna win, and then I think lap 9 or something, just in turn 4 and 5, just my wheel disconnects in the middle of the corner, and then I hit the wall.
Yeah,
So great. I think it sets the tone of how the season is going to go anyway, so...
I don't think it does. I think that's the first race done. It always can be pretty questionable for some people, so don't worry about that. The next one is Austria. We've had a recent race there. You've got some experience. Do you think you can do well?
I mean, Austria's not really my best track. I got well, the last race I had there it didn't go too well. In the race before that, I got outpaced and bullied. So yeah, I don't know. It's probably not going to be good anyway.
Fair enough. Well, I hope it goes better. I'm sure it will. I mean, it can't really be too much worse than a technical failure. But yeah, one last question. How would you describe your race in 3 words?
Can't start worse.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Well done today. It is a shame.
Thank you.
We move on to the final interview. Zingy, that was a brilliant start and a terrible finish. No pun intended. Can you take us through that race?
That's what I'm used to anyway. But anyway, the first corner was fantastic. I don't think I've ever loved myself more, by the way. In the turn 1, and I went right around the outside. That seemed to be a theme that race, when I could just hook it around the outside and get the traction down, which I really loved. And obviously I made a mistake lap 4. It wasn't actually in my controller, it was just me being a bit of an idiot. Taking a little bit too much curb, but I mean, that happens. I'm not Erling Haaland, I'm not a robot.
Oopsie.
However, yeah, and then I tapped Sidewinder. I don't know if you noticed it, but I tapped Sidewinder a tiny bit, and I got lime green damage.
Wow.
And so much pain. And then I was actually keeping with Niffle and Sidewinder, I think it was. And then I made another mistake. It dropped to 4 seconds, and I kind of kept the gap. And then Niffle spun, and I was anticipating a safety car and go mediums to the end. And if that would have been the case, I believe I could have won that. However, obviously I came in from a stop, and then I got the undercut in the Casper Sky because I had my damage. Cut up all the time. With my new front wing, and I had a little bit of a miscommunication, and I ran into the back of him. And then he let me go, thankfully. I don't know if it's because he went off track, but I think he let me go. And I successfully defended from him enough that if he does get a penalty, I'm not saying anything yet, but hypothetically, if he gets a penalty, I will get that P2. So I do hope that works. And the Igor Pro battle, by the way. Holy moly, I don't know if you caught that one.
Yeah, it was a nice little ending to the race, of course. That gave us something to watch. So, yeah, thank you for that one. It's a shame that it went that way. Of course, we'll look into it afterwards. But, I mean, I guess still on the podium, you can take that away so far. So, well done. One last question. Not one last question. On to Austria. Do you think you can take another win there?
I didn't win last time.
Oh, no, you didn't, did you? Do you think you can get redemption and take a win?
God, you're so used to me winning, aren't you? No, sorry. I think Austria, this time I I don't run a certain Dutchman off the track like about 7 times. I think I might actually get the win because I was showing some great promise in the last race, but I got a bit too carried away with the boundaries of other people. But I think I've improved myself a little bit. I think I can definitely win and get the first win in the season, and hopefully it's a snowball effect from there.
Awesome. Thank you very much. One last question. How would you describe your race in 3 words?
Niffle bottled again.
Thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Well done today. I'm just going to leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you next time for the Austrian Grand Prix Round 2. We'll see you tomorrow for the F1.5 Championship. That's going to be a very, very, very interesting race for sure. Other than that, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.